Welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today we are going to make a calamine and aloe vera soap using the heat transfer method. I've done this a few times. It's not my go-to way to make soap, but it is very efficient and super easy to do, and I haven't really showed it on camera before. Some soapers do this all the time. Heat transfer. What it is you make your lye solution, and while it's still super hot, you pour it over your oils to melt the hard oils, and it's called the heat transfer. So you're using the heat from the lye to do the melting instead of pre-melting them on a stovetop or in the microwave. It's just really efficient. So we're going to do that today. And the calamine portion, I buy it in bulk and I throw it in this jar. What a pretty light pink color. Calamine is made up primarily of zinc oxide and a little bit of iron oxide, and it creates zinc is white and the iron is red, and it creates this beautiful pink color. Well, let me read to you a few of the things about calamine, why you would even want to add this to a bar of soap. Let's see what Google has to say. Calamine powder acts as a potent natural skin soothing astringent. It has antiseptic properties. It's commonly used to relieve itchiness, treat rashes, soothe sunburns, and manage acne. So it's got some really fun stuff in there. I love early springtime, so things are going to start cropping up, and along with that come bugs. And so when my husband gets chigger bites, he's very reactive, or mosquito bites, or any kind of bug bite, I think calamine is great. I grew up, my mom used we called it the pink stuff. The calamine lotion was a staple at my house growing up in the deep woods of Wisconsin, where the mosquitoes are like small helicopters. They're nothing to mess around with. All that being said, we're making calamine soap, and I think it's wonderful for your skin. So I like to do this on my calamine because of the pink color. I do a scoopy top and I add a little rock salt on there just because it's so pretty, and salt is great for your skin. This is kind of big and chunky, so it would probably just fall off after a couple of uses, but it looks so pretty on top. So we'll be adding some rock salt down on the top of this soap. And then for the fragrance, this would make wonderful essential oil soap, but today I am going to use a fragrant oil. I'm going to be using pink grapefruit from Wholesale Supplies Plus. This behaves perfectly in soap. The pink made me think of the calamine, the fruity, I don't know why, but it just sounded like it went well. So that is the fragrance I'm going to be using today. But of course you can use whatever you choose or leave this unscented. If you wanted to make an extremely skin-friendly bar, I would leave this unscented. So our lye solution is going to be an aloe vera lye solution, and I'll show you. We'll go step by step through that, and then we'll use the hot lye solution to melt our oils, and that's the heat transfer method. So that's what we're doing today. Let me get everything pulled together, and let's come back and make some calamine and aloe vera soap. All right, we are back, and I'm all prepped and ready to go for the oil portion of the video. And I have used this recipe before and shared it. It will be written down in the description box below. But I'll tell you real quick, here are the hard oils and butters. I have coconut, palm, and shea butter in here that we're going to do the heat transfer method. And then over here are my liquid oils, castor, olive, and sunflower. The reason I have these separate is because today I have a lot of dry ingredients to add here, and I want to take my time blending them in. And if I wait to add the lye, I might over blend it and speed up trace. So if you're not adding a lot of dry additives to your soap, you can go ahead and measure all of your oils in one bucket for the heat transfer. But today, for me, it's just going to be simpler to blend all my dry ingredients into the liquids, melt the hard butters with the lye, and put it all together. That's how I'm working with it today. So there are a couple different ways to do heat transfer method. This is how we're doing it today. So for the dry ingredients, of course, I've got my calamine powder. Let's get that in here. Absolutely gorgeous. So I have my little baby spoon. I want to add about a tablespoon. So I'd say that's 1 teaspoon. We'll add a couple of these. There we go. So pretty. And then, of course, I'm going to add my kaolin clay and my colloidal oats because I love them. And I like my little extras. So this is about a tablespoon of the kaolin clay. This scoop is 2 tablespoons, so it was about half full. Same with the oats. And again, these are optional ingredients. They won't change your recipe or your lye ratio or anything. You can add these, you can leave them out. It's still a great soap recipe. So this is just what I like to do. Totally personal preference. So let's get these all blended up. Oh, and by the way, the fragrance is in here. So I just want to not forget anything. So anyway, let's get this all blended up, and then we will get to making our aloe vera lye solution and get to melting the heat transfer whey. And we're all set up to make our aloe vera lye solution. I like to do a 50-50 water aloe vera split in my pot. You could do 100% aloe vera juice or 100% water, totally up to you. But this is how I like to do it. And I need 10 ounces total or 286 grams of liquid. So whether you're doing all of one or whatever, you get the drift. So I'm going to do 5 ounces of aloe vera juice. This is the brand that I'm using. I get it at Walmart. I have seen this on Amazon. It is really expensive on Amazon, I think because it's liquid and heavy, you know, the shipping. So go to your local drugstore and get it there, much cheaper. So let's do 5 ounces of, or half the weight here in aloe vera. There we go. And top it off with water to get to a total splashy. All right, there is our liquid. I already have my lye, sodium hydroxide, that's lye, pre-measured. This is 5.1 ounces or 145 grams of sodium hydroxide. But first, I love my extras, so I am going to be adding a little bit of sugar, about a teaspoon of sugar that I'm going to dissolve in the water first. Don't try to do it after you add your lye. It won't dissolve. It just turns into a caramel mush. So you don't want that. So if you want to add sugar, which is a lather booster, it really helps create a fluffy lather. Do it before you add your lye. So I'm doing that. And again, just about a teaspoon. This is not super specific, but round about a teaspoon. Now I want to stir this until it's fully dissolved. And then I'm going to add my tussa silk fibers because, again, I love the extras. These are total optional ingredients. You can leave them out. You don't have to do this at all, but I love the way silk feels in a bar of soap. It really does make your bar feel silky. It adds a shine to the bar. I love it. So I add it in there. All right, sugar is all dissolved. And for the silk, I can't tell you how much this weighs. It weighs virtually nothing, just a little pinch, like the head of a Q-tip size if you mush it up. Very tiny. You could even add up to a cotton ball size if you wanted to do that, but just a little bit. It doesn't take much, and I love adding it in there. All right, and just for the sake of the video, I'm going to go ahead and add my sodium lactate now because I want it in here, and I don't want to forget it. This is a 1 teaspoon measure. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons in here because that's about how much we need. Sodium lactate usage rate is about 1 teaspoon per pound of oils. So it's a little generous, but no harm, no foul. So 1, 2 teaspoons. And sodium lactate helps with the unmolding. The next day it helps firm it up a little quicker in the mold. Again, totally optional. You can leave this out and it will not change any of the soap recipe ratios. All right, so everything is blended in there except for my little fluff of tussa silk, which has not melted yet. The heat from the lye will melt that silk in there. And then we're going to pour it over our hard oils and let it do all the work for us, melting these hard oils and butters. So stand back. You don't want to breathe the fumes. Wear a mask, safety goggles, and gloves when you're working with sodium hydroxide. You don't have to be scared of it, but please be cautious and use really good common sense. And of course, the other caution is you want to make sure it is fully dissolved before you pour it over your oils. And I don't feel any grit left in that. This is nice and hot. So this is going to melt that. And let's pour it over nice and slow. Okay, and we're just going to stir this around until all those chunks are knocked down and melted. Easy peasy. And again, if you were not going to use all those powders, you could definitely have the liquid oils in here already and really make things simple. And that way you only have one pot to clean when you're done. How efficient is that? I might throw my stick blender in here and knock down some of these chunks. I've got some bigger blobs of oil in there. And my basement is cold, so if you're in a cold room like I am, your coconut oil and your hard oils are going to be a little bit harder because of the coolness. If you are in a very warm studio or your house is warm, your kitchen or wherever you're soaping, and your coconut oil is really soft and mushy, it's going to melt a little faster. There we go. And I think my only caution with doing the heat transfer is you want to make sure that all of those chunks are completely melted. You don't want a blob of oil in the middle of your soap. So that would be my real only caution with doing this method. No chunkage. There we go. I think we're getting pretty good here. I'm going to go ahead and add the liquid portion in, and we'll continue to knock down those lumps. That calamine is such a pretty color. Just tickles me pink every time I use it. I'm just going to blend until I get a nice trace and make sure I don't see. I'm kind of going up and down to see there's a chunk right there. I want to grab that with my blender and get it. So I kind of go up and down to make any chunks rise to the top so I can see them. But you know, this is a really efficient way to soap. If you don't want to wait for your lye solution to cool and mess around with that, I think this is the way to go, especially if you're working with a fragrance or essential oil that you know is going to behave and not speed things up, and this is perfect. Or like today, I'm not doing a color swirl, so I don't have any intricate patterns to worry about. So I think on this simple soap, the heat transfer method is excellent. And again, there are some soapers that's just how they do it every time, no matter how fancy their design is, and it works perfectly for them. So give it a try if you've never tried the heat transfer method. All right, this is perfect because there's no swirls. I can show you what trace is. So right now we're at a light trace. So that means when I stir it and pull this up and go around, you can see trails on top of the soap. That's the trace. It's kind of like a loose pudding. So that means it's all well and incorporated, and we can go ahead and pour this in the mold. I could keep blending it to a thicker trace, but why? You know, we can just do it now. So let's get this in the mold. And then I'm going to let it set up a little bit longer to come in and do the scoopy top, and we'll add our rock salt and all the, you know, prettiness that goes on top. And I have noticed that my table here is not level, so once in a while when I pour a soap, it will go to one side or the other. So if you see me ever put a chopstick under one side of my mold, it's because my table isn't level, and I'm going to have to fix that one of these days. There we go. And I'm just going to let this sit for a couple of minutes and firm up just a touch more before we come in and do the top. Back, and it is the next day, and I get asked all the time, how do you force gel phase? Some people do it in the oven. I do it like this. So this is just a cooler that fits over my soap mold, so any cooler will do, a styrofoam one, and I have it sitting on a heating pad. This is very inexpensive. I got it on Amazon. I'll leave a link down below, and it has 3 settings. What I do is after, while the soap is still wet and jiggly, I very gently put it on the heating pad. I turn it up to high, and I let it go for about an hour with the cooler on top, and it builds a little bit of heat mass. Then I come down, turn it off, and just let it sit undisturbed overnight. And that forces gel phase to go through the soap. And by the way, this smells so good today. And there it is. So this soap has gelled, and that is how I force gel phase. Now let me get this out of the way. And I get asked often, what is gel phase? Well, my best answer is Google it. You will get a more in-depth answer on Google, but I will just tell you that it just helps the cook of the soap speed along the saponification process of the oils and the lye reacting, turning into soap. The gelling, the cooking, if you will, just kind of speeds things along. It makes a harder bar to unmold the next day. If I don't gel a soap, I will wait maybe 48 hours before I unmold it. So it's a little firmer the next day. I like that. I just have always preferred to gel my soaps, and that is how I roll. Totally, again, not necessary. If you don't want to gel your soaps, you can just leave them right out on the table and let them set, and they are fine. They will be beautiful soaps at the end of the day. No big deal. It's a personal preference. But let's get this out of the mold. There's no swirls or anything, but let's get to cutting. And again, ooh, this smells good. We are back with the lovely Olga, and I am going to put this loaf with the salt side facing down to hopefully reduce the drag marks going through the bars. Because anytime you have little bits of herbs or fluffs or anything on top, if you pull a string through it, it can make drag marks. So trying to reduce that. And I wanted to talk about the fragrance. Again, I absolutely adore a good citrus scent. But citrus is notorious for slowing trace down, which this grapefruit was very easy to work with, but it did slow it down. And with a slow-moving fragrance, sometimes the soap can take a little longer to set up. So even though this went through gel phase, it is still a little soft and tacky today. But it's beautiful and it smells divine. So yeah, it's just a little bit tacky, and I think that's because of the slow-moving fragrance. So not a lot to see, just beautiful ivory color. It's not very pink. If you wanted to make this more pink, you could add a touch of mica or some rose clay in here to bump up the pinkiness of the calamine, theme. But I think these are just simple and gorgeous, and they smell amazing. And again, this is just what I did today is one way to do the heat transfer method. Again, you could put all your oils in the bucket and do it that way too. If you are a heat transfer lover, leave a comment down below and tell us your experience, why you love doing the heat transfer method, and if you do it with your liquid oils and your hard oils all together. I would love to hear how you're doing it. So because these are a little bit tacky, I'm going to let them sit for a day or two before I come in and do my beveling and stamping, because that is a little aggressive on these and I don't want to ding them up or anything. So I'm going to take my time, be patient, all of the good things. And of course, the recipe I'm doing today is fantastic. I love it. You could do heat transfer method with any soap recipe. It doesn't have to be specific. Oh, and I thought of one other thing, talking about gel phase versus non-gel phase. If you think about a hot process soap, where you're actually cooking it in a pot, either a crock pot or on the stovetop, and doing a hot process, gel is kind of like hot process in the mold. So that's what you're doing. You're helping the soap to cook in the mold instead of in a pot. So there's just a word on that. Gel phase, heat transfer method, all the nuances of soap making that I love. I love the chemistry of soap making and the process of it. It's crafty, it's sciencey. I just love it all. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you give the recipe a try and let us know again if you do the heat transfer method and how you like that. And have a wonderful day.